Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader Guide. All companions in the game, or better to say, all companions you will get from Prologue till the end of Act 1. What we're gonna cover here is all builds for companions in Prologue and Act 1, or better to say, in the first 20 to 30 hours of the game. Or in other words, from level 1 to level 16, the companions that you'll get in a game would be Cassia LvL, Idira LvL, Abelard, your Seneschal, Inquisitor Heinrix LvL, your Tech Magus, Pasqal, and Sister Argenta, aka Argentina. This is everything from companions that you'll get till Act 2 starts. All the builds and this entire guide is play tested on unfair difficulty, so if it works on unfair, it will work on all other difficulties as well. Let's not waste time. Let's go.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader? Because I am. The Emperor protects.
Full Seneschal Abelard Verserian build, the main guy behind our Rogue Trader. So the very first feature, once you get Abelard, would be his charge. You charge at opponents and deal damage. The next thing that you want to take would be Athletics on level 2. On level 3, you get Endure, so you can soak up a bit more damage with Abelard. On level 4, you receive your ulti. Daring Breach, one of the best ultis in the game. You receive extra action and movement points to whack enemies by your will. Also, you will receive to pick the very first talent, and the very first talent that you wanna pick would be Thick Skin. What is Thick Skin? It gives additional parry to Abelard, so he doesn't receive damage, plus it gives deflection, so you can mitigate some damage output from enemies. Extremely good talent for the first talent. On the next level, we're gonna get Hardened Scars as the talent. In other words, once you use Endure to stoke up damage, you're gonna get Deflection as well. Okay, so the higher the deflection, the more damage you can soak up as a tank. Very important. For characteristic pick, we're gonna take Toughness. And now it's time to pick an ability for Abelard, and that would be Sworn Enemy. You deal more damage to those that you make sworn enemies in combat. Very good ability on Abelard. You are a tank, you wanna soak up as much as you can, but you want some damage output as well. Well, this is it. For skill checks, we're gonna take Athletics, and always Athletics whenever it's available on Abelard. On the next level, we're gonna take Toughness for characteristic, and for the talent, we're gonna get Combat Master. Combat Master will remove melee superiority on Abelard, or better to say, once Abelard gets surrounded by enemies, they will not have superiority against him. You want him as a tank, yeah. On the next level, for the skill check, you will take Carouse, and for the talent, we're gonna get Invigorated Hatred. Now, why do we take Invigorated Hatred? You will be close by enemies, you will make a sworn enemy out of them, and this is an upgrade for the sworn enemy, so you get even bulkier for the enemy that you sworn. Okay, so basically this is the upgrade for the sworn enemy. The next one would be ulti upgrade, and we're gonna take Daring Breach 3. Now, why do we take it? It's very simple, because of additional parry and deflection, of course. The higher parry and deflection are, the tankier Abelard is. For the next ability, we're gonna take Epicenter of Slaughter. Every time you get whacked, for the next turn, you receive additional health, better to say additional wounds. For the characteristic on the same level, we're gonna take Weapon Skill. And for the last ability on Abelard, we're gonna take a Taunting Scream. You want your main tank to taunt enemies, so they go for him and he makes a priority target out of himself. For additional talent, or better to say talent 2, we're gonna take Grenadier. Grenade for free. Okay, very good to have on every single character, as well as Abelard. On the next level, for characteristics, we're gonna take Strength, because we want to hurt more. And for the skills, we're gonna take Carouse again. And now it's time to take Heavy Armor proficiency on Abelard and equip Heavy Armor on him, because Heavy Armors provide huge deflection and huge armor percentage, and it is the only way to play Abelard efficiently on unfair difficulty, as well as all other difficulties. For the skill checks, we're gonna take Medikit this time for some better healings with medkits. On the next level, we're gonna take weapon skill so that we hit more often with melee. And of course, when we're level 15, we're gonna take It Will Not Die and raise wounds, or better to say, raise health by a lot. For the final ulti upgrade, we're gonna take Daring Breach upgrade 1. So we got 3 and 1. This one is very simple, it gives additional movement points, so you can switch from enemy to enemy and whack them with your weapons. Now, what is the weapon of choice in Prologue and Act 1 on Abelard? The best one to use by far would be a greatsword. You're gonna wear medium armor until you find a heavy armor, and that's gonna be at the end of Act 1. If by some chance you wanna use a ranged weapon, it's best to use something big and bulky, like a shotgun, for huge AoE damage in your second weapon slot. What's the type of armor, trinkets, and all other items and gear that you can get? You wanna take trinkets that gonna reduce charge by 1 action point, that will enhance his armor, his parry. Those are the stats that you wanna check out, okay? Or those that enhance his abilities like Taunting Scream or Endure. And it's very simple with Abelard from then and onwards. This is Abelard that wants to become a vanguard, so pure tank, omega tank, okay? Now let's check all of his skills and how to use them in Prologue and Act 1. Abelard's origin will give him Brace for Impact. Brace for Impact is best used when you have a lot of allies around you. You whack this and then they all soak up damage, as well as Abelard, and of course it provides deflection when enemies are close by, okay? Like on 5-6 tiles away from you, and you are gonna about to get hit on the next turn, you wanna use Brace for Impact. That's his origin ability. Very good ability. Always, you will always use charge before a classic basic melee weapon attack. So your point is to charge first and then attack, not the other way around. Because by doing it the other way around, you can provoke attacks of opportunity and unnecessary hits on Abelard. Do not forget to spam Endure on every turn, because it soaks up damage. You want always Endure on Abelard, from turn to turn, as long as the combat lasts. Daring Breach is one of the best ultis in the game. Do not hesitate to whack Daring Breach the moment you have it on, and always keep the Daring Breach for Abelard and Heinrix, because they can hurt like crazy with Daring Breach. Again, Sworn Enemy that we upgraded through talents as well will help you tremendously in combat, so you wanna combine Endure and Sworn Enemy, that's 2 action points, and then you have Boots to reduce action points from charge, that's 3 action points in total, and 1 action point left for a classic melee attack. So basically this is your combo, okay? Taunting Scream is utility, and for later on when you become a Vanguard, it's a preparation for Vanguard. But these 3 spells, you can always use them, and Brace for Impact is 0 action points, which means it's free. That would be it for Abelard. The next video will be for Act 2 and 3 for Abelard, and that's gonna cover the entire Vanguard progress, okay? All 20 Vanguard levels. Once he becomes a Vanguard, that is. Argenta build. Argenta is your main damage output in the game, an absolutely crazy character. The very first ability you'll receive as Argenta would be Run and Gun. You shoot for free and you can move tiles and go into half cover, full cover, and whack enemies with a small penalty. Extremely good keystone feature on Argenta. On level 2 you wanna learn Demolition. On level 3, she will receive Revel in Slaughter. When she kills 3 enemies, you just click Revel in Slaughter, and for 1 action point, you're gonna gain additional damage, additional critical hit damage, and additional dodge. One of the best skills in the game, especially for a marksman. On level 4, Argenta receives Military Excellence ulti. Whenever you have military excellence, do not hesitate to use it. You shoot as many times as your weapon's rate of fire. So basically, the bigger in the item description, the bigger the rate of fire is, the stronger Argenta ulti is. Because Argenta is a bolter user, and I know a lot of players will say how you can play with Melta, how you can play with Flamer, and so on. Look at the portrait. She's holding a bolter. And when I say use a bolter, trust me, use a bolter. And that means you're gonna learn Bolt Weapon Expert for a 10% additional armor penetration. And you will equip 2 bolters at the same time on Argenta. Not a bolter and a flamethrower, not a bolter and Melta, 2 bolters, if you can. And later on, we're gonna prepare Argenta with a classic mini bolter and a huge bolter. Okay, so go for the bolter. After the bolt weapon expert, we're gonna go with ballistic skill. Always take ballistic skill whenever possible. The higher the ballistic skill, the more often you'll hit with Argenta, and you wanna hit because you'll be using burst fire non-freaking stop. And we are preparing Argenta to become an arch militant. For the talent, we're gonna take unpredictable on Argenta. The bigger the agility on Argenta, the more often she'll crit, and you wanna crit a lot with Argenta because she hurts, especially with burst fire. On the next level, we take ballistic skill again, and we're gonna take rapid fire. Instead of firing 4 bullets with your bolter, you're gonna fire 8 once you click on rapid fire. One of the best skills you can take on Argenta. For the next level, we're gonna take agility, raise her dodge, and enhance crit chance. For the talent 2, tier 2 talents, we're gonna take nimble, enhance dodge even further. On the next level, we're gonna upgrade rapid fire over here with bullet hell. In other words, your rapid fire won't mitigate damage anymore. You're gonna deal exactly as you're supposed to deal without a penalty from rapid fire. So your burst attacks will hurt like crazy. For the skill check, we're gonna take demolition. And you always wanna take demolition with Argenta from this point on. When available, of course. For the ulti upgrade, we're gonna take upgrade 3. Very simple, you'll hit more often and you'll have additional penetration on enemies. Very, very good upgrade on Argenta and Argenta's ulti. And now, because Argenta is swallowing ammo, because you're gonna use bursts non-stop and then run a gun to play again, and then the officer gives her an extra turn, you run out very fast. Okay, and you need to reload costs 2 or 3 action points. With rapid reload, it's going to be free for the first time, and then it costs 2 action points less. From that moment on, it's gonna only cost 1 action point to reload the weapon. It's a must, and you have to do it, especially while playing on unfair. For the characteristic upgrade, we're gonna take agility. Again, additional crit chance and additional dodge. And for the final ability, we will get dash. I'll explain how dash works later on. For the skill check, this time we will take awareness, because demolition is not possible at this moment. And you want awareness, so you have someone in your team that can spot hidden stuff around you. And the next thing that you want to learn would be perception. After that, it would be swift movements. We give extra movement points to Argenta. Movement is as equally important in Rogue Trader as action points. I can say action points are a slightly bit more important, but still movement points are extremely important. So that's why the swift movements. For the next level, we're gonna learn second skin. Medium armors won't apply penalty to dodge anymore, which means Argenta will be tankier in medium armor, and she's gonna dodge more often because there won't be any penalty. Very good talent. And for the tier 2 talents, we're gonna take Grenadier, so you can whack a grenade for free. Alright, Grenadier is useful on every single companion in the game. For the final talent, we're gonna take It Will Not Die. And we're gonna raise maximum wounds on Argenta, or better to say health. And for the last one, we're gonna take awareness. The last level is ulti upgrade. In the marksman archetype, and we're gonna take upgrade 2, increase the rate of fire. Again, the bigger the rate of fire is on marksman, especially on Argenta, the stronger she is. You want huge rate of fire. And this provides it with ulti. Your ulti will hurt a lot. What items do we want on Argenta? We want critical chance, critical damage, we want medium armor, we want bolters, and we want utility items that can provide awareness or demolition. And that's about it. The stats that are green, that's the one you want to go for. All of the stats that you see that are higher, 80, 80, 70, 50, 50, those are the stats that you want on Argenta and on all Argenta gear, basically. Now, how do we play Argenta as a marksman? First, you wanna hang onto a half cover or full cover. Then you wanna trigger rapid fire, and then you wanna use burst, and then you wanna use run and gun, and then you wanna use single attack. That's the combo, main combo for Argenta. Rapid fire, burst, run and gun, single shot, and repeat. If you have an officer, you can always trigger Revel of Slaughter once you kill 3 enemies to hurt even more. And that's it for Argenta. Once you have dash, if enemies get close to Argenta, you can move out. You don't trigger attacks of opportunity, and then you shoot enemies again. It's 0 action points, it's extremely good, and there is no second thoughts about it. It's a must. This is your escape mechanism. Also, if you can reach some enemies with a bolter, sometimes when you waste all of your movement points, you will be able to get line of sight and shoot when you use dash. Okay, do not hesitate to use Argenta's ulti, especially when there's a lot of enemies, because she deals a lot of AoE damage. And with this ulti, you wanna whack a bullet into every enemy and keep the less time available to fire for the burst attack. So it's single shot, single shot, single shot into burst fire. That's the maximum output of ulti, and you wanna whack every enemy that you can with one single shot, so you score multiple crits. When do you use Warhammer? To gain momentum. When you gain momentum, you can use ulti more often. Okay, now how do you use Warhammer? When enemies are close by, so you have maximum amount of momentum, or better to say, get that ulti faster. Do not use Warhammer outside of enemies, okay, only when they get close. That would be it for the prologue and Act 1 for Argenta. Again, if it works on unfair, it will work on all other difficulties as well. She is your main damage output in the game. You want to have an officer to support Argenta, and then you're gonna see how much she actually deals. We're gonna continue this for Act 2 and 3 when Argenta becomes an arch-militant. Cassia guide, your ship navigator, the one that takes you through the warp. So, you get Cassia very early in the game, and the first thing that you're gonna get as an officer Cassia would be Voice of Command. After that, it's Bring It Down. Those two spells are in cohesion, and you should always cast Voice of Command before putting Bring It Down on an ally to play again. Extremely good combo. On the next level, or rather to say on level 2, we're gonna learn Persuasion. On level 3, we're gonna get back in a fight as an ability. On level 4, Cassia receives Finest Hour ulti, one of the best ultis in the game. You basically give an entire turn to ally. For the very first talent, we're gonna learn Inspire Courage. Inspire Courage will raise allies' maximum wounds, or better to say, maximum health. On the next level, we're gonna learn Willpower as a characteristic. And we're gonna pick Eye of the Oblivion as a Navigator talent. Navigator talent is one of the best talents in the game. You remove dodge from enemies, or better to say, you debuff enemies by just looking at them. For the next talent, we're gonna upgrade the Get Back in a Fight, and it's gonna become Wounds Are No Excuse, a buffed up version of Get Back in a Fight. And for the characteristic, we're gonna max out Willpower. We're always gonna go for Willpower whenever we can. For Cassia, we need huge Willpower. For the next ability, we're gonna learn Glimpse of Fate. Glimpse of Fate is an extremely good buff on yourself, on allies, no matter what. It gives plenty of good benefits. And it scales with willpower that we're gonna have as the main stat. Everyone that's under the effect of Glimpse of Fate will receive additional dodge, additional hit chance, and better chance to resist different effects on a next status effect spell that they're gonna get targeted with. So basically it's one ability for a triple buff. For the Navigator talent, we're gonna learn Veil of Protection. Now why do we do it? Because she casts a lot of spells to buff and so on, and when you cast, for example, Glimpse of Fate on someone, that ally is also gonna receive additional armor on top of dodge and hit chance and whatnot. For the next level, we're gonna learn a talent called Contagious Luck. Contagious Luck will give ally a chance those that you buffed with your skills to reroll a failed check, or to reroll in combat if they miss, or if they get hit, they reroll dodge again, so they try to dodge it. Okay, basically it's a double play, but with dices. After Contagious Luck, we're gonna go with Lore Imperium. On the next level, we'll receive the first ulti upgrade, Finest Hour, and we're gonna pick upgrade number 2 as the first upgrade for the ulti. This is very good, because once you put this ulti, for example on your tank on Abelard, and you send him in the middle of enemies among 20 enemies, Abelard won't die. He's gonna survive for entire round, no matter how many times he get whacked on 1 HP. Very good to soak up damage. On the next level, we're gonna take Lore Warp. Warp is the most important thing on Cassia, because she is a navigator, she flies with your ship through warp, she's gonna have a lot of warp skill checks during Koronus Expanse map, during combat, during skill checks, when you explore maps and so on, so you're gonna use Lore Warp non-stop. Lore Warp needs to be the highest skill on Cassia, and it's also lore friendly, because she's supposed to know about the warp the most. She's a navigator. For the characteristic, we're gonna take Fellowship, because she's an officer as well as a navigator, so she profits out of Fellowship, willpower, intelligence the most. For the next level, we're gonna learn Commanding Voice. Commanding Voice will increase all officer abilities by specific amount of tiles, 3 plus 6. Very good, you can reach further with your abilities, with your buffs. For the characteristic, we're gonna learn Fellowship. And the next ability that we're gonna take on Cassia will be Reveal the Light. Reveal the Light is yet another buff, but this time the buff raises willpower and toughness. Best to self-cast on Cassia and raise her willpower even further, so her spells will start hurting more and more once you enter Act 2. This is preparation for a full Navigator Cassia from level 1 to level 16, so she becomes way much stronger after that. Reveal the Light is absolutely essential. After Reveal the Light, we're gonna learn additional talent from talents 2, and that's gonna be Swift Movements. We want huge movement points on the Navigator, cause she's gonna move during combat non-stop everywhere to buff allies, dodge enemies, cast some damage dealing abilities on enemies and so on. Basically, you want movement points. So Swift Movements it is. On the next level, we're gonna learn Perilous Ways. Cassia has a very good damage dealing movement abilities, because she's a navigator where she gets to move one enemy or multiple enemies in the area of effect. With this talent, Perilous Ways, enemies will receive damage when they're moving, or better to say, when you move enemies with Cassia, they're gonna get hurt. It's extremely good, and this is the main thing how you should play Cassia. Correct talents that deal damage when you move enemies. And now Cassia becomes stronger and stronger as time goes on, from this moment. For the skills on this level, we're gonna take Lore Imperium. On the next level, we're gonna get Toughness for Cassia and raise her maximum wounds, or better to say HP a bit. And we stick on raising maximum wounds with It Will Not Die, so Cassia cannot get one-shotted anymore. And for the final level, we're gonna take Finest Hour Upgrade 1. The first upgrade gives full invulnerability for an entire round where ally cannot die, and this upgrade will give additional damage to an ally that scales from fellowship bonus. Cassia is a navigator officer, so her fellowship is already quite high. And you benefit the most out of this upgrade. So for the ulti upgrade again, we go with upgrade 1, and the first one would be upgrade 2. And that's about it. Now, what are the best items to equip on Cassia? Any item that's gonna give her movement, willpower, intelligence, perception, or fellowship is completely valid on Cassia. Or any item that gives lore warp is completely valid on Cassia. Those are the items, trinkets, capes, hands, and so on that you wanna use on Cassia. For armor, we always go with light armor with huge dodge. You must pay attention on Cassia to have extremely good dodge when you play. She needs to dodge, not to soak up damage. Alright. As far as weapons go, you gotta have 2 staffs, 2 navigator staffs. One staff should be the buffing staff and the other staff should be the attacking staff. Okay, so how it goes, you equip, for example, this staff when you wanna buff up allies with all of those buff abilities I gave you, and once you want to move enemies, you equip a damage dealing staff that's gonna hurt enemies even more when you move them, and it's gonna scale with your talents, so you need to switch those staffs when you play. So what are the abilities that we are going to prepare on Cassia? We want Cassia to become a grand strategist post level 16, but from level 1 to level 16, these are the abilities that we're gonna use the most. Now, how do you use abilities when you want officer abilities with Cassia? Voice of command on an ally, and then play again with bring it down. Once ulti is there, you pop ulti and give them an extra turn. So you can basically tell an ally to play 2 times, including his own round. That will be 3 times in 1 round as Cassia. Once and if your ally is immobilized, stunned, burning, bleeding, and so on, you just pop voice of command and you say get back in a fight, and they clear all of those negative status effects. That's a defensive part of Cassia. And now comes the navigator part of Cassia. The spells that you're gonna have would be Lidless Stare, Notch of Purpose, Glimpse of Fate, and Reveal the Light. This is what you're gonna get from level 1 to level 16. These are for later on, post level 16. So these are the only spells that you're gonna have as far as this build goes. How you should usually open up. You're gonna buff up Cassia with Reveal the Light, and then you're gonna use Notch of Purpose to move enemy and hurt. Pay attention that you have a staff that deals damage on movement as well. That's for the talents, gear, and spells combo. The ally that's gonna get targeted, you can give them Glimpse of Fate so they can dodge. Or ally that's gonna hurt, like Argenta, you can give them Glimpse of Fate so they hurt even more. I would not recommend going with Lidless Stare unless it's a must. It's far better to move an enemy and buff allies in the first round than to do Lidless Stare. When can you use Lidless Stare? Because it's an AoE damage dealing spell. When you open up fights in a surprise round, you get close enough to enemies, you whack them with Lidless Stare, collect as many as you can, and then go back. Okay, to start buffing allies, move enemies, tell them to play again, and so on. Cassia is probably the best companion as far as utility goes, and the best buffer in the game. Not only the buffer, also the damage dealer, because later on she's gonna hurt like crazy on top of all of those buffs and play against spells. Anyways, that would be it for Cassia. Again, if it works on unfair, it will work on all other difficulties as well. Cassia is a must in a team, especially if you don't play as an officer, because Cassia is the only valid officer in the game. Heinrix LvL's full build from level 1 to level 16 for Prologue and Act 1. The main Inquisitor of Lord Xavier Calcazar, and one of the most important companions in the game, Warrior Assassin Heinrix. So, through a warrior, we are preparing Heinrix to become a melee assassin. Psyker melee assassin. On a first level as a warrior, Heinrix receives Charge, the base ability for every warrior class, extremely useful from the start to finish of the game. On level 2, we're gonna get Coercion. on Heinrix. On level 3, he receives Endure for free, so he can soak up more damage. On the next level, he receives ulti, Daring Breach, one of the best ultis in the game, and once you have Daring Breach, you want to use it more on Heinrix than on Abelard, for example, because Heinrix deals way much more damage. For the very first talent, we're gonna take Defensive Maneuvers, cause it gives extra dodge to Heinrix. Heinrix is a bit opposite of Abelard. Abelard soaks up damage and parries, while Heinrix uses dodge to avoid damage. So the higher the dodge for Heinrix, the better he is in combat. And we wanna focus on dodge. That's the first talent that we're taking. Dodge. The next talent we're gonna take on Heinrix on the next level would be Enrage. We're gonna increase his critical hit chance with his agility. He uses agility as the main stat, as a main defensive stat in the game. And of course, for the characteristic, we up agility. The next thing that we're gonna take on Heinrix would be his Biomancer spell, Invigorate. A small heal that's able to remove stun, bleeding, fatigue, blinded, immobilized, staggered, and all fresh injuries. Very useful, okay, because of removals. More because of removals than because of the actual heal, but truth to be told, it's best to take this one. Because as a warrior and warrior talents, Heinrix doesn't need much. He needs his Biomancy. Again, he's a Biomancer Inquisitor. And we are sticking to the lore as well. I want to make a lore-friendly build for unfair. The skill check upgrade we're gonna take would be Carouse on Heinrix. On the next level, we're gonna take Weapon skill to enhance hit chance. And for the talent, we're gonna take Blade of Light. To be more precise, once you take Blade of Light, you will hurt more with Force weapons. Heinrix uses Force melee weapons, and this is great as a start. On the next level, we're gonna take Carouse for skill checks, and down there we're gonna learn Biophysical Distortion for the next talent. What it does, you poison enemies whenever you hit them. As a Biomancer, this is good, it's damage over time, very good talent on Heinrix. For the ulti upgrade, we're going with Choice Upgrade 1. Why do we go with it? Because of the movement points. He can cover 5 screens away from him and go and reach the targets that you usually cannot reach with other characters. So Heinrix is there, preparation warrior into assassin, so he becomes a lone wolf isolator, where he's gonna pass through the entire map and eliminate the biggest threats. That's what Heinrix is. On the next level, we're gonna learn a new talent called Rigorous Training. Once you charge with Heinrix, it doesn't end his movement points, so you can charge and move away and hit something else. For the characteristic, we're gonna go for the Weapon skill and raise the hit chance. For the next talent, we're gonna learn Biomancy spell, Enfeeble. What Enfeeble does? Basically, it's debuffing enemies in huge, I can't call it a circle, you can see how it is. Like a square that looks like a mini cross, but whatever. You debuff all enemies and you can hurt them more with every single companion, as well with Heinrix. Extremely good debuff. And for the next talent, we're gonna take Psy rating 1. The higher the Psy rating is, the more powerful Biomancer spells are. Whenever you have an option to upgrade Psy rating, you're gonna opt in for it immediately. For the next level, we're gonna take Toughness, because that's the only thing available right now. Toughness will raise Heinrix's overall wounds, or better to say, his overall health. After we raise health, we're gonna take Athletics on Heinrix. For the next level, we're gonna learn a talent called Desolation. Desolation is a preparation for a lone wolf, where you're gonna eliminate enemies that are alone away from your team, especially with your ulti. You're gonna deal more damage based on your agility. And next, we're gonna learn Medike as a skill check. On the next level, we're going in for Toughness, raising that health even further. And for the last talent, we will learn It Will Not Die, and raise wounds, or better to say health, even further. Now, for the final ulti upgrade, I was testing out ulti upgrade number 4, and I come to conclusion that the best one to take on Heinrix would be ulti upgrade number 1 and ulti upgrade number 2, not number 4 like I took it. So if I am to respec, I'm gonna opt in for upgrade number 2 and give him additional movement points on kills. So basically when you upgrade Heinrix ulti, it's 1 and 2 and you ignore the bottom 2. What are the main characteristics on Heinrix? It's weapon skill and agility, one for offense, the other one for defense. Toughness is also very good because it enhances his health points. And of course having some solid willpower on a Psyker, because Heinrix is a Biomancer Psyker, it cannot hurt. You're gonna need the stat. As far as skill checks go, he's gonna be reworked in a month from now, and I truly believe that he's gonna have huge lore Xenos, and that's what he's gonna be capable of doing, okay? But for now, how things stand, I went with Karaus with all of his skill points. Heinrix is basically not there for skill checks, Heinrix is there for combat. Other companions are far better in skill checks. What items do we want to use on Heinrix? We want a Biomancer staff and we want a melee weapon. A sword, two-hander, one-hander, it doesn't matter as long as it deals damage. Okay, now what about the stats on other gear? On amulets, helmet, armor, and so on. You want armor that gives huge dodge, it's usually light armor. You want to raise weapon skill, you want to raise toughness, you want to raise agility as much as you can with all gear. And that's your primary objective. If by any chance you want to reduce cost for some spells that he's gonna use often, like charge, you can always give him boots for charge. But again, the most important stat on Heinrix would be dodge. Pay attention on dodge when you play as Heinrix and you're good to go. The higher it is, the better he is. How do we play Heinrix? Pretty much the same as you play Abelard. You go with Endure, you rack up charge, you cast Iron Arm on yourself or on your allies to buff up damage even further and hit points, okay? Then, before striking enemies, you cast Enfeeble, debuff them, charge into them, whack them, up Endure, and the turn. Once you have ulti, then you're free to wreck whatever you like to, because you will have a lot of movement points and a lot of action points. If by any chance some of your allies gets debuffed with blinded, fatigued, bleeding and so on, you can always remove all of those negative stats with Invigorate. These 6 are the spells that you're gonna get in Prologue and Act 1. Once Act 2 starts, I'll speak about other. The bottom line is it good to have Heinrix in your team? Yes, because there's a lot of great conversations where Heinrix is the main part of all of those conversations. And the main quest also revolves around Heinrix, so he is one of the most important companions in a game, if not the most important, including Argenta and Abelard. Heinrix is there among with them. Extremely important to have in your team. Idira Guide, the full build for Idira class from level 1 to level 16 for the unfair difficulty. So, our dear Idira is a heretic, psyker, operative. That's her biography, that's her build, that's her lore, and we're sticking with her lore from start to finish. Let's build her up and prepare her for Prologue and Act 1. The very first spell that she's gonna receive, or better to say the ability as an operative, Psyker operative, would be Analyze Enemies. Analyze Enemies goes in combo with Expose Weakness. You whack Analyze on an enemy single target, then you whack Expose Weakness, and you reduce, or better to say, you debuff enemies, so you can hurt them more with your entire team. On the next level, we're gonna learn Logic on Idira. Then she receives, again, these two always go together, okay, Expose Weakness and Analyze Enemies, or better say Analyze into Expose, and on the next level she's gonna receive her ulti, Dismantling Attack, a boss killer ulti, okay, and this is the only way how you should use this ulti on Idira. But basically other companions have better ultis. For the very first talent, we're gonna pick Advice and Guidance. Whenever you decide to buff up Heinrix, Abelard or Argenta, they're gonna hurt more. That's the talent, when you use Psyker abilities to buff up allies with Idira. On the next level, we're gonna learn Perception. We need huge Perception on Idira, because we want Idira to become a bounty hunter. After perception, we're gonna learn a talent called Nimble, cause we want dodge on Idira so she can dodge enemies' attacks. Dodge is the most important defensive stat on Idira, after all. On the next level, we're gonna learn Fatebringer talent. Every ally that you buff with Idira will now receive armor percentage, or better to say, they're gonna become tankier. For the characteristic, we're gonna learn Intelligence. On the next level, we receive an ability choice, and we're gonna pick Sensory Deprivation. What it does. Basically, it's a debuff. You debuff enemies so they can't hit as often. Very useful debuff. So as Cassia, for example, is a buffer, Idira is the complete opposite. She's a debuffer. Okay, so Cassia good to enhance the team, Idira good to demolish enemies. For the skill on this level, we're gonna learn Logic. On the next level, we're gonna learn the talent called Predicted Downfall. Predicted Downfall is yet another debuff talent where enemies are getting penalties to dodge even further. For this level as well, on a talent 2, we're gonna learn Psy rating. The higher the Psy rating is, the better the spells of a Psyker are, or better to say, the more powerful your spells are, and Idira is a heretic Psyker. For the next level, we're gonna receive ulti upgrade, and we're gonna pick upgrade number 3 for dismantling attack. And of course, cause Idira is a debuffer, we're gonna pick additional debuffs on ulti as well now, okay? Additional armor and dodge removal on enemies. For the skill check, we're gonna pick Awareness on this level. On the next level, again, we're gonna pick Awareness, and for the characteristic, we're gonna pick Intelligence. For the next level, we're gonna pick a talent called Visions of Doom. Yet again, it's a debuff that again reduces enemies' dodge and parry. Okay, Idira is all about reducing enemy armor, enemy dodge, and operative into a Psyker debuffer. Does that very well. You can easily, and when I say easily, I mean it. If enemy has like 100% armor and 90 dodge, you can go to potatoes. Okay, 2 potatoes. They're gonna have 0-0 once you use all of the abilities and debuff them with Idira. Okay, so all allies will hurt that enemy even more. Or better, they're gonna one-shot him. That's what Idira does, debuffing. After the Visions of Doom, we're gonna take Lord Xenos for the skill checks. On the next level, we're gonna pick Prescience on Idira. Prescience would be the first buff for Idira as an operative Psyker. What Prescience does is once you buff an ally with some ability, they're gonna receive additional points into Intelligence, Perception, Fellowship, and Willpower. Very good when you wanna buff Pasqal and when you wanna buff Cassia. They're gonna become very, very powerful with that. Also, it's valid to buff up Heinrix with this one. And at this level, we're gonna take, of course, talent 2, Psy rating 2. We're maxing out her Psyker power. And whenever you have a chance to upgrade Psy rating, it's a must. There is no other way, it's a must. For the next level, we're gonna pick Mind Siege as a talent. Whenever you cast anything on enemies that's gonna debuff them or do something to them, it doesn't matter what type of Psyker spell it is, now they're gonna receive additional mental damage from this talent, or better to say, from Idira. Very useful. And on this level, we're gonna take Perception, because we're preparing Idira to become a bounty hunter Psyker operative. On the next level, we're gonna take Willpower on Idira, because Psykers profit out of willpower. And of course, we're gonna take It Will Not Die to raise maximum wounds, or better to say, maximum health for Idira. And for the last level, it would be ulti upgrade, or better to say, dismantling attack upgrade, where we're gonna pick upgrade number 4. What it does, when you surround an enemy that had a dismantling attack from Idira, and whenever he tries to do something, all of those melees that surrounded that enemy will whack him once. Okay. It's gonna provoke attacks of opportunity no matter what enemy does. It's a boss killer dismantling attack. You reduce armor, you reduce dodge, and then everyone whacks enemy. So Idira is a damage dealing debuffer, operative, support, Psyker. Alright, Hereticus. She's very good on a Hereticus run as well, if you decide to play as a Hereticus, of course. What is the gear that we want to use on Idira class. Everything that's gonna give her willpower, perception, intelligence, enhance her debuffs is good. Everything that's gonna reduce dodge on enemies, armor on enemies is valid on Idira class. Everything that's gonna raise dodge on Idira is also a good item to equip. Any item that's somehow connected to the Psi rating and that's gonna enhance Psi rating is extremely valid on Idira as well. As far as the staffs go, Psyker staffs, this is something that you want. Huge willpower, huge perception, divination, unsanctioned Psyker staffs. There's gonna be a lot of them in a game, and those are the one you wanna use once, and if you decide that you have like an action point or two above to spend, you can always equip a sniper and whack enemy from afar. But that's optional. You are there to cast spells. That's why you're there, to debuff enemies, analyze, expose weakness, and so on. Now, let's speak about those abilities and how you should play Idira in combat. So, we are preparing Idira to become a bounty hunter psyker, but from level 1 to level 16, this is what you'll get. Okay. The last 3 are from top 16 and above, so we are looking at these 4 and we're looking at this. Okay, the main damage dealing spell that Idira receives for free would be a Psychic Shriek. Classic, 1 target, 2 action points, deal willpower bonus, multiply with Psi rating damage dealing spell from afar. That's gonna raise Veil as well, so you need to be careful when you're gonna use it. You don't wanna spam with this. How do we play Idira? The combat starts, you analyze an enemy that you wanna kill in round 1, you expose enemy's weakness, okay? And then you're gonna put blind on some other enemy, you're gonna buff an ally, perhaps, and you end the turn. If you decide to deal damage, there is the second option. You go into Analyze, into Expose Weakness, into Psychic Shriek. Okay, if you think that enemies will hurt you, okay, then it's good to go with a forewarning and give allies additional dodge. And that's everything that you need to know about it. And now your choice is how you want to mix up those spells. Once you encounter a boss, you can always go with a dismantling attack and reduce armor, dodge on the boss, plus with all of those ulti upgrades, there's gonna be additional benefits on it, and that's about it. So what is the best way and how you should always start is Analyze into Expose Weakness, okay, this too, and then it's everything else. You decide how you want to do it. Offensive, defensive, debuffing, dealing damage, or buffing allies. Idira is best at debuffing enemies, and that's a fact. Pasqal full build for Prologue and Act 1. Or should I say, this is a build for Operative Tech Magus Pasqal that wants to become a bounty hunter, or better to say, a trapper. To put it short, the entire team benefits out of Pasqal and his debuffs, and that's his main purpose in a game. Skill checks, as I like to call him, know-it-all Pasqal, and debuffs in combat. So, we are preparing Pasqal to become a bounty hunter. And during Prologue and Act 1, the very first thing the operative learns is to analyze enemies. You pop up Analyze Enemies and you apply stacks on them. The bigger the amount of stacks, the more pain you'll deal. On a second level, we're gonna learn Tech Use, cause Pasqal is there for the Tech Use skill check mostly. On the next level, Pasqal receives Expose Weakness. Extremely great, especially when you analyze enemies and then you use all of those stacks and reduce enemies' dodge, parry, and armor. In other words, the entire team profits out of Exposed Weakness, and it is one of the best basic skills in the game. This is how you win fights, by debuffing enemies. On the next level, Pasqal receives his ulti, Dismantling Attack, pretty much the upgraded version of Exposed Weakness. Yes, you can put Analyze into Exposed Weakness into Dismantling Attack and leave enemies literally with 0 chance to dodge and 0 armor, so you're gonna hurt them a lot. Yes, you can do it. Pasqal is a boss killer, but not a solo boss killer. Pasqal is there to reduce all stats on the boss so other teammates can finish the job. The first talent that we're gonna learn would be passive learning, where we analyze enemies just by having them in our sights. Extremely good. The more stacks they got, the bigger the debuff for exposed weakness. On the next level, we're gonna learn perception. Why perception? Because we are preparing Pasqal to become a bounty hunter. For the talent, we're gonna learn combat master. On the next level, for the talent, we're gonna learn joint offense. The entire team benefits out of joint offense. Everyone that you analyzed, and you're gonna multi-analyze with passive learning, so every enemy that you can basically see with Pasqal will get analyzed, and your entire team will hurt more against those enemies. For the next thing, we're gonna learn intelligence. Again, we're learning intelligence and perception for a reason, because we're gonna play a trapper bounty hunter Pasqal. For the next level, we're gonna learn joint analysis, an active ability that will allow all of your allies to remove exploits from enemies and hurt them even further. Skill checks, of course, you will always take tech use whenever you can. For the next level, we're gonna learn combat insight talent. We're slowly preparing Pasqal for the late game during the early game, so you're gonna receive an additional action point later on. And for the next talent, we're gonna learn power weapon expert. On the next level, there's an ulti upgrade, and we're gonna upgrade dismantling attack with upgrade number 2. Not only that we are reducing dodge and armor with dismantling attack, now we are reducing enemies' damage as well, no matter if they're melee or ranged. For the skill choice, we're gonna pick Medice on this level. On the next level, we're gonna go into logic. And of course, we will take perception for a characteristic. For the next level, the next talent we're gonna learn would be weak body, weak soul. To put it up short, when you expose weakness, you're also gonna remove some health points out of enemies. Very good. Merges with all Pasqal abilities. For skills, we're gonna learn logic again. For the final active ability, we're gonna learn tactical knowledge. When it gets rough, tactical knowledge can buff your allies around you, while they're gonna receive extra armor. It depends on the amount of stacks of analyze on enemies. For the talent, we're gonna give Pasqal some additional movement points with swift movements. On the next level, we're gonna learn the improved tactics. What it does, it upgrades tactical knowledge into improved tactics. Or better to say, you're gonna have a better version of a tactical knowledge. For characteristics, we're gonna learn intelligence. On the next level, we're learning ballistic skills, so we can shoot more often and be more precise. And the final talent upgrade in this archetype of operative will be plasma weapon expert, because you're gonna use a lot of plasma weapons as well. The last level belongs to the ulti, an ulti upgrade of dismantling attack, where we're gonna take upgrade number 3. What it does, basically, it additionally debuffs all enemies around the dismantling attack target. Okay, where they're gonna receive penalties to dodge and armor by 15%. What is the gear that we want on Pasqal? For weapons, it's quite simple. We want Tech Magus Axes as much as we can, and we want a plasma gun or plasma pistols for the start. Okay, where they offer multiple shots per weapon. As far as other gear goes, boots, helmets, armor, and so on, you want huge armor, but it has to be medium for the start. In all of the other trinkets, you should aim for Medice, Tech Use, and Logic. Now, as far as characteristics go, Pasqal is all around character, okay, but he does profits the most out of intelligence and perception. So those would be the stats you should pay attention to, especially if you can find it on gear. Pasqal is a very slow companion, so boots that give extra movement points are pretty much the best ones for the start. Now, how do we play Pasqal? Pasqal is by far the most complicated companion to learn and master. Your bread and butter opening move on every turn, in every combat, it's gonna be to analyze enemies. Pick a target that you want to eliminate in the first round, analyze him, and then expose his weakness. So you and all of your team will be able to deal a lot of damage and kill that target in round 1. This is your main focus and your main job as an operative, to debuff enemies. If you think that enemies are way too strong, you can always use his origin ability, which is called Machine Spirit Communion. For it short, and what it does, it buffs your party and it debuffs enemies in a huge area of effect. Your allies will dodge more often, while enemies will dodge less. Whenever you can, you wanna whack joint analysis so everyone hurts enemies more around you. Once you encounter a big enemy, okay, mini boss, boss, or some huge elite, you wanna use dismantling attack and completely reduce their armor. Now, what is the combo usually for those bosses? You keep Pasqal safe under some full cover, you analyze the boss, you expose his weakness, and you whack him with dismantling attack. Whether it's gonna be ranged or melee, doesn't matter. You don't look at the damage, you look at the debuffs. And then your team can burst out the boss. This is Pasqal's job, to debuff all enemies on the map, especially tough enemies. That is, until he becomes a bounty hunter, and then his job will be to have huge crowd control by mobilizing enemies and sharing offensive stats with allies as well. But we're gonna talk about it in some other video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Are you ready for Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader? Because I am. The Emperor protects.